Hotline.
You're listening to 888 Hotline. I am your host, Stephanie, and I am so happy you've joined us today. In today's episode, we are interviewing author Lisa D., the creator of Healthy Happy ADHD. For those of you who don't know, I got diagnosed with ADHD very late in life. It was about 27, 28 years old, which is actually quite common for women. Most women don't get diagnosed with ADHD until very late because we don't portray the symptoms of ADD or ADHD. When we think about ADHD, it's very common to think about a hyperactive person. It's usually a boy that can't sit still and it's screaming all the time and it's jumping off and down the walls. And a lot of women are not that way. A lot of women have the symptoms of ADHD in their brains, where their brains actually don't quiet down. There's constant thoughts going around all the time, which makes it quite challenging. However, because I got diagnosed later in life, there was a lot about my condition that I did not know about. And when I went online, I would just see a negative perception into having ADHD. It was usually portrayed as someone messy that could not keep up any habit, and their life was just in shambles. And it was hard for me to want to identify with that type of person and wanted to accept that that was going to be me because I did not feel that way. And I actually felt that even though it was difficult to live with ADHD, there are some amazing strengths that come with it, and I've learned to love and accept it. And while I was researching, and by researching, I mean going on TikTok and watching videos, I stumbled upon a video of Lisa. And the way she talked, the way she portrayed herself, the way she showed herself just made me feel so connected. And for the first time, I saw someone that was like me, that had the same type of thoughts, that had the same struggles, but was also happy and thriving. And I am so honored and so grateful to be joined by her today and to be able to share a little glimpse into this incredible and amazing book. Lisa, welcome to 888 Hotline. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Very excited. As I told you guys, we have Lisa here, the author of the fabulous book, Healthy Happy ADHD. And we found each other through TikTok. Yeah.
Love TikTok.
I love TikTok myself. I actually have mentioned in the past that I was diagnosed with ADHD, but I don't think that I've always been really open about my story. Mm-hmm. And the reason why is because I feel like the way ADHD is portrayed in media today is usually quite negative.
Yeah.
It is usually a description that I don't feel that would fit who I was, but also it did not fit who I wanted to be.
Yes.
And therefore, because I don't feel like I fit this mold, I almost felt like an imposter saying I had ADHD because I did not fill the stereotypical narrative. Mm-hmm. And like Lisa, I got diagnosed very late in my life. And for the first time, while I was looking through TikTok, scrolling on my For You page, one of your videos kind of popped up. And the first video I ever saw about you, you were actually not even talking a lot about ADHD. You were talking about binge eating.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I felt really connected with you because I've had those issues before.
Yeah.
And that I have actually been very open about. I battled with binge eating for about the majority of my 20s. I had a really bad relationship with food. Mm-hmm. And the way you talked about it and connected it to your ADHD, something just clicked in my brain. And I was like, wait a second.
Oh,
like,
wow.
This makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And then I just binged all your content and
so
everything
good.
was very relatable. And that's why I wanted to have you here in the podcast today, because the best part about your book is that I feel like you almost remove the stigma on ADHD and you make it look different, and when you read it you feel differently. So thank you so much for writing this book, and thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you. You're welcome. I'm glad to be here.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about your story and the before and after transformation that you've been going through?
Yeah, so I got diagnosed with ADHD when I was 31. back in 2021.
Okay.
And so it was in a period of time where I was juggling multiple things. So I had taken on a law degree, actually. Yeah, you did. Did you know that? Yeah.
I did actually.
Okay. It's in the book. But I was running my business and I had impulsively taken on a law degree.
Yeah.
And I was naturally really struggling to manage both. But I just remember one day being in my kitchen and I had an essay due for my degree and I had to do stuff for my business. So my accountant needed some, I don't know, receipts or something. I had to fill in something and I just was not able to do these things. And I had been avoiding them for so long and I kept just crying and avoiding them and then beating myself up and feeling bad and just feeling terrible. And I used to like talk to myself in such a bad way, like other women are able to handle things like this. Like other women your age have children and they have careers and they're fine. And like, what is wrong with you? Like there's something wrong with you. And I just knew because the year before I was diagnosed with PTSD, right?
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
PTSD from, that's a whole different conversation. And that made a lot of sense. And I was working through healing and, you know, dealing with processing old stuff there. But this felt different. It was like, something is not right. Like there's something in my brain, something doesn't feel right. And so I got diagnosed with PTSD the year before and I knew that I still didn't have all the answers. Like something still didn't feel right. And it was getting harder and it was getting worse, right? I remember actually coming back from a therapy session because I had started therapy the year before. And I remember coming back from my first session and I said to my partner, who's also a therapist, but he can't be my therapist, of course.
Yeah.
I said, I feel like I need to be in a, is it like a straitjacket? You know, like those beds where you're like pinned down and you're like, I feel like I'm going insane. Like I feel like I'm losing my mind. I need to be like pinned down and locked away. And it just made no sense to me because nothing in my life was really like that, quote, like wrong.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
I was like, what? Like, it just felt like inside my brain, it was constant noise. Constant. And I wasn't able to deal with it the way I had always done in the past. I was comfort eating a lot, gaining a lot of weight. You know, I had lost all my healthy habits. Like, I wasn't working out. I wasn't doing any of the things. I used to be very optimistic. I was just a hopeful, optimistic person, and that all just had left me. I was just really struggling. Anyway, got diagnosed with ADHD, and that was just the turning point because there was an answer for why my brain was operating the way that it was, right? And it's not that, okay, I have ADHD. This makes sense now. Let's continue. It wasn't like I wanted to keep feeling that way. I was like, now that I know it's ADHD, what can I do to feel better? What are the things an ADHD brain needs to feel healthy and happy? Yeah. And so down the research rabbit hole I went to figure that out. And then I was so excited because I was learning all this stuff. And I started implementing the things that I was learning and I was feeling better.
Okay.
Had a huge transformation. I had lost the 34 pounds of weight that I had gained from this comfort eating. My mind was clearer. I was having way less meltdowns. I was sleeping better. I was happier. I was optimistic again. I just felt more like myself. And it's not that the ADHD was removed because there were still hard days and things I still found hard and, you know, but the difference was night and day in me. So I had that huge transformation and then I started sharing that online. And I just wanted other girls with ADHD to know that they could also feel healthy and happy. And it's not a life of doom and gloom and you can feel better and you can enjoy your life and you can feel good in your own skin.
I actually did write down about your law school journey because I did relate in the sense of having a deadline that are usually like constant in law school and not being able to fulfill those deadlines.
Yeah.
And then feeling like a terrible person because if there's 80 people in your class and 79 can do it, what's wrong with you? Yeah. Like, why are you the person that is not able to do something like that? And the other thing that I really liked and loved about your book was the acceptance portion of it. Yeah. It was not trying to change yourself. And yes, ADHD is living with it is hard. Like it is, period. There's nothing we can do to sugarcoat that, but you can either use that as your excuse of my life is going to be terrible because I have this, or I can accept that maybe my brain works a little bit differently.
Yeah.
There's amazing things that come with it. You can hyper focus on something and amazing things can get done. You created a book, you know, like that seems like an impossible task, but then you do it. But there are hard things as well. So being able to thrive, although having this is a beautiful thing. And the way you've been showing that you can actually do it it's quite beautiful.
Yeah. Thank you.
Of course. So let's go back to your journey when you were diagnosed and you make the decision of, okay, I want to start feeling healthier about myself. I want to start implementing better habits, habit building. And I know you talk a lot about habit building in your book, but I want to first talk about what were the first changes you did in your life? What were the first things you tried to incorporate in order to feel healthy and happy?
So when I was researching ADHD, what came up time and time and time again was exercise.
Yes.
And I feel like when people hear that, they're like, eye roll. Like, we know exercise is good for us, but like, I swear the difference in me after just 5 minutes of movement is absolutely insane. So I am a health and fitness coach. Mm-hmm. So previous to this, like back in 2013, 2014, I opened my own female only gym. And I ran bootcamp classes and I was personal training every day. And I was always on the go and always helping women get fitter and healthier and happier. But I had lost that myself. Like I had lost that over time.
Do you think you lost it because of lack of motivation? Was it your lifestyle at that point?
Yeah, a mix of different things, because I closed my gym because I wanted to work online and travel.
I see.
And so I did that. But when I was traveling, things were great because I was moving around a lot and I was experiencing a lot and I was still going to the gym. But I had always been someone who would go to the gym, like train, like work out 3 to 4 times a week. It's like bodybuilding style. It was 3 or 4 heavy sessions every week and nothing in between. And working out in that way was always associated with bodybuilding competitions.
Yeah, you were in competitions.
Yeah, I did them, yeah. But I did love being in the gym and I loved helping women in the gym as well. But I had just associated it with bodybuilding at that time. So it came to a point where I just got really bored.
Yes.
And I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
And I'd go into the gym and I'd be like, oh, I don't want to do 3 sets of deadlifts and, you know, lift heavier every week. And I was just like, it's so boring. I don't want to do it anymore. Yeah. And that's when I started losing that habit and that love for exercise. So when I was researching ADHD and exercise kept coming up, I thought to myself, I just need to do something a little bit every single day. Instead of this 3 to 4 times per week, heavy sessions, which I had to like motivate myself to go into the gym. You know, I have to, you know, eat my meal, take my pre-workout or my coffee and get in there and get myself psyched up. It was a whole process. But I figured if I could just do 5 minutes a day of something small, that will make my life easier.
Yeah.
And so I started kind of on and off at the beginning, just like going for little runs. I don't like running. I'm not a runner. I would say I'm not a runner. That was my identity at the time. I don't like to run. But I took on this 100 days of running challenge. And I talk about this in the book. It changed everything for me because I just had to go outside and run. It could be for 20 seconds. It could be for 2 minutes. It could be just up the street and back. It didn't matter how far I went, how fast I went, how long I went. It just mattered that I went, you know?
Yeah.
And so I was able to keep that going. And that's what kicked off all the other habits, because then I was going for my 2-minute run, coming home and like, oh, I feel my mind is clear. Like I'm not having a meltdown over, you know, this thing that I'm dealing with, or, oh, I'm actually craving more protein or like a healthier dinner. I'm not craving sugar. So then one habit fell into the other, and that's how it started. So everything started.
I was reading in your book, and I love the way you started your health chapter and exercise chapter by saying like how many people can actually relate to the fact that you can't stick to a workout routine. How it's so hard.
Yeah.
Like if you start thinking like, oh, I want to be healthier. I want to lose weight. Let's start going to the gym 5 times a day and 5 times a week. And then just thinking about going there, forcing yourself to going there is such a challenge that you end up kind of losing momentum, and then you just stop completely and you don't stick to anything.
No.
The other thing that I thought was really important was how you related maybe the negative image that you have of working out to something that could have happened in childhood.
Yeah.
Maybe you were not good at a sport. Maybe you had a bad PE teacher that told you that you were not good at it. And you have this just negative connotation of what working out means and exercising means. But when you remove the part of exercise that it's for, yes, it's for vanity, like your body will look better, but you make it about your mind and you understand like, hey, I have a mind that is overstimulated.
Yeah.
I have a mind that the way I try to describe it to my partner who doesn't have ADHD is my head usually has a song playing in the background and 2 or 3 competing thoughts. And they're all there at the same time.
Yeah.
And the song is in the background, like for some reason. But when you exercise, it's almost like it quiets down even for a few moments and it really gives you that clarity. So when you start working out for your mind instead of your body, there's a shift that kind of happens. But at the same time, for anyone with ADHD, or even for people that don't have ADHD and don't have a set workout routine, it's hard to start.
Yes.
It's hard to create a routine.
Yeah.
And this also happens a lot with New Year's resolutions. We start January 1st saying, I'm going to change my entire life. And you undertake this huge thing. And when at day 3 you fail, then you decide, you know what, I was always going to fail. I'm not good enough. And then you stop doing it altogether. Yeah. Your approach was different because your approach in a way was building a habit. And the habit was, I'm just going to get out of my house and I'm going to run. Whatever running means. But you also mentioned that in the book. Your definition of running was not the definition of running you thought it had to be.
Yes.
Because when you say, I'm going to run is, I'm going to run a 10K marathon and I'm going to do all these things and I'm basically going to be the fastest woman in the world. For you, it was like, no. Today, I might run till the end of the block. Tomorrow, I might just do a long walk. The day after that, I might feel like actually running for an hour. Yeah. But you were just getting out of your house, creating a habit that was sustainable because you were actually fulfilling the expectation you set for yourself, which was going out and moving your body.
Yeah. And keeping that streak of 100 days. Yeah.
Exactly, which was that. And like, I think the key was the flexibility you had with yourself.
Yeah.
And having that flexibility was what allowed you to actually maintain that and go forward.
Exactly. Because when I realized exercise was the number one thing I needed to do, I was feeling so bad. Like I was just feeling really low at that time. And I didn't want to feel like that. You know, I was like, I don't want to feel like this. I also know that, you know, signing up to do a marathon or something, I'm not going to stick to that. And I'm so fed up of having these massive goals and then burning myself out in the process. And then that's what happened to me with exercise before that. I would burn myself out and go into these vicious cycles with the bodybuilding competitions, you know, and that's not sustainable. You can't spend your life doing those.
No.
And so I speak about the frayed shoelace in the book. So the way I explained it to my partner at the time was, it's like a shoelace on your shoe. And I see in my head a frayed shoelace, like all the threads are coming off of it. And it's like, it's actually annoying me. It's I can almost feel it, right? And when I start running, it just starts to like tidy up. It's like the shoelace just gets really straight and clean. And then I hear a ding in my brain after like 20 seconds of running.
Yeah.
And so that's how I feel like having that visual representation of the feeling kind of helps.
Yes.
Because it's like, oh, I'm feeling this way. I'm feeling crap. I'm feeling on edge. I need to fix the shoelace, you know? And then instead of I need to go to the gym and do a workout, it's like I need to fix this shoelace. And that helped me go and do it then because I was using different words for it. And, you know, at the time, by the way, like I was really unfit. So I was really unfit at that time. I had gained a lot of weight, so I felt really heavy on my feet as well. And I was running and stopping every, 15, 20 seconds. Like I wasn't someone that was able to run for any length of time back then. And over the period of like doing these runs and like running and walking, as I got fitter and felt and saw the shoelace change and felt the feelings in my body, like it made me want to do it more.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, actually I'm craving the gym now as well. On day 40, I was like, I want to go to the gym.
Yeah.
I want to try a Pilates class. I want to try a boot camp class. And I started doing all these different things. And as I said earlier, like one thing led into another, which completely just led to a massive transformation. And I just think like with exercise, especially because so many people have negative experiences, as you said, with school and exercise is often just tied to weight loss and how we look, that it feels like pressure and it feels like something we should do. And when you intellectually understand, like, I should exercise because it's good for me, that doesn't mean that you have the feeling of wanting to do it. And with ADHD, you have to have that feeling of wanting to do it. And you have to kind of almost trick yourself sometimes into whatever that looks like. For the frayed shoelace worked for me, like creating this image. And just to help yourself get out the door or get onto the mat or whatever it is. Because not doing it, it's just going to keep you, like, you're going to stay where you are, unhealthy and unhappy, you know. And I realized that. I was like, yeah, I can keep talking about how I don't want to exercise and I can't be bothered and keep feeling how I'm feeling, or I can find a way to do something about it, you know? Definitely. So yeah.
I don't think we've talked a lot about the symptoms of ADHD, and I don't want to go a lot into it because it looks very different for everyone, but I think that maybe people in the audience can relate to this. The hardest part for me, at least, is wanting to start a task, right? Because our brains work a little bit different. So whereas like someone who is not neurodivergent, they know that today they have a list of tasks and they have to go to the gym and maybe they have to grocery shop and then they have to do laundry. And their brain will just be like, okay, I have to complete these list of tasks. I'll go to the gym, I'll grocery shop, and I'll do laundry. Whereas our brains don't really function that way. So we don't get that normal, I don't want to use the word normal, but we don't get that sensation of like, oh, it's time to go to the gym. I feel motivated. I'm going to go to the gym right now. Yeah. It's almost like sometimes I feel like I'm at my couch and I can't move. And in my head, what goes around in my head is, you have to go to the gym. It's getting late. You have to stand up. Hey, stand up. You have to go to the gym. Why are you not going to the gym? You were supposed to go to the gym today. You're so lazy. Wake up. Like, stand up. Like, do something. And then I don't. And then you feel terrible. And then you blame yourself. And it's a cycle. And then I find something to comfort myself because I feel bad that I didn't go to the gym. And that could be food. I can binge eat. Yeah. Or that could be scrolling on TikTok for 10 hours and comparing myself to someone else, or watching.
You get a dopamine spike from doing that, by the way. You get a hit from that.
Well, feeling. That was the point, right? It's like we don't have that dopamine spike, right? And like we try to find almost like quick fixes for those dopamine spikes all the time. And I know for me, it's social media. Even to this point, it's social media or eating. But when you kind of understand that there's other ways of getting that dopamine that is more sustainable and it's not that quick, like exercise, for example, your view on things change. And a lot of it comes to habit forming, right? Like creating healthy and sustainable habits. And that's where I want to focus on next, because without giving a lot away from the book, because I really think all of you guys should buy it and read it. It's a great read. I've actually binged it in a really short time. But you talk about habit formation, and then which we've talked a lot about on this podcast, so I won't go a lot through it on how you create a healthy habit, but you give an extra step that I haven't read before or seen before. So can you give us your like Cliff Note version of like forming a habit and then that extra step and why that step is important?
Yeah. So I talk in the book about how to form habits. And the thing with ADHD and with social media is we see a lot of posts of people with ADHD talking about how we just can't form habits, right? And I'm like, right, well, that cannot be true because we have habits. Yes. There's things that I do that are definitely habits, but they're bad habits, right? Like, you know, if you think about it, comfort eating when you feel stressed is a habit.
Definitely.
It's a habit.
Definitely.
Right? So I figure the opposite is also true. Like we can replace those habits with different things and we can create healthy habits. And, you know, what belief do you want to subscribe to, right? So anyway, studies have shown it takes on average 66 days to form a habit, but it changes depending on who you are, your background, your lifestyle, environment, stress, if you have ADHD, your brain functioning and stuff. But on average, 66 days typically. And the research also shows that it can take much longer if you have ADHD or if there's certain things going on in your life. There's no like one size fits all, right? So I thought, okay, so that doesn't mean I can't have a habit. I can definitely create one. It might take me a lot longer than somebody else, but I can create one. And that belief was worth having because I want to believe that. I want to believe that there's hope because that's going to help me move forward, right?
Definitely.
But Charles Duhigg, I don't know if I'm pronouncing his surname right, The Power of Habit, have you heard of his book? So he lines out how habit is formed, and you have the cue, the routine, and the reward. And the reward you get after doing the action, the habit, reinforces the habit so that you keep doing it, and it's all subconscious and all happens automatically. And so my extra step is flexibility, right? Because
Ding, ding, ding.
because you're not going to get everything 100% all the time.
Yes.
And if you don't give yourself flexibility while trying to form a habit, then you're not going to ever give yourself a chance because you're going to fall off track. Things aren't going to go your way. You have ADHD. You have a hormone cycle that changes from one day to the next. Like, you have to give yourself flexibility because if you set a goal for, so my 100 days of running, for example, I was so flexible with that because it didn't have to be at a certain time. Now, it was easier for me to do it if I did it in the morning before I went to work, right? So I tried to do that. But if I said to myself, you must do it every day at 6 a.m. for 100 days, day 35 would have come around and I would have missed it because maybe it was my luteal phase and I was more tired and I didn't get enough sleep and I slept in. If I wake up at 6:30 that day and I miss the habit I'm trying to form and then think, well, what's the point?
Yeah.
I failed again. Self-fulfilling prophecy. I failed again. This always happens to me. I may as well give it up and try and find something else. Then you're never going to get to where you want to be, right? So I say flexibility because then you're giving your brain the chance to kind of redirect, to find the next best thing or find another way that you can do the thing, you know, instead of you're keeping the habit alive.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you're doing something just to reinforce it so that you're still building it. And it's not just that, but it's your perception of it as well, like how you feel about it and you being okay with that. So you're not waking up going, oh, I missed it today. I'm such a mess. This always happens to me. I'm a terrible person, blah, blah, blah. You're waking up and you're going like, shit, like I slept in. This is really annoying. Like I'm pissed off, whatever. But what can I do to move forward? You know, like what's the next best thing? What's just something quick, anything? You know, and it's about how you speak to yourself then, because then you're giving yourself a chance.
Yeah.
You know, that's why flexibility is so important. It's not about how often you fall off track. It's about how quick you can just move forward again.
Yeah.
You know, like you're just kind of getting over yourself and moving on is really important because life. Yeah. We have a lot going on. And to feel healthy and happy, you have to give yourself that flexibility and to give yourself that chance because otherwise you're just going to be really self-critical.
Agreed. And I love the examples you gave in the book and I'll talk a little bit about it. So like we've stated, forming a habit can be hard in the beginning, especially if you have ADHD or other things going on in your life. Once the habit is built, it's the nice part, right? Like you almost do it without thinking. You probably now run without like it being an effort. You just like put your shoes on and you can run. But in the beginning, when you're in the beginning stage and it's still not a habit and you're trying to make it a habit, there are going to be things that stop you. That's life. That's the reality of it. So some of the examples you gave were something like, okay, you want to start a new workout routine, and let's say that you decided to go to Pilates and you want to go to a Pilates class, but you still haven't formed the habit. You were running a little bit late and you end up missing the class that you already paid for. Yeah. And usually what I would have done in the past, which your book describes it perfectly, is being, I'm so stupid. I can't stick to anything. I paid for this class and you are a piece of trash that is not even able to go to a class that you paid for. Like, are you kidding me? And then the way you rephrased it in the book was like, okay, what happened for you to miss that class? Like, what is the thing going on here? Like, maybe you're a little bit late and like the class doesn't let you go in if you're 5 minutes late because it's a very strict class. What can I do right now to feel better? If I needed movement, then okay, maybe I can't go to the class, but I want to move, so let's go for a 10-minute walk
Yeah.
to make me feel better?
Yeah.
And what can I do in the future for me to remove that pressure out of myself? So maybe a Pilates class that it's very structured and I have a start time is not the best thing for me, but maybe I can start doing Pilates classes at home, watching YouTube, and that could be a good start.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. It's giving yourself that flexibility, but also giving yourself grace and talking to yourself nicely, which is so hard sometimes. And I love affirmations because I feel like affirmations are a way of like tricking your brain into talking to yourself nicely when you don't want to talk to yourself nicely, you know? And
Which is also a habit.
It is a habit. I saw that you put it in your mirror or something.
Yeah, Post-it notes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I love that. I use it on, I'll listen to positive affirmations when I can tell my brain is going like, not being nice to myself. But you made an example in this book that changed the way I perceived negative talk. And it was, let's say that you have a friend that it has a lot going on in her life, and she did that same mistake you just did, which is miss the Pilates class. Would you tell your friend, like, you are a piece of trash that can't get anything done? Are you kidding me? You missed a Pilates class? You're stupid.
Yeah.
No, you probably tell your friend like, hey, things happen. I completely get it. Your life was kind of difficult today. Like, don't worry, you can come tomorrow. Or like, what can we do like right now to feel better? Let's go for a walk. Let's just chat. You're human. Why can't we do that for like ourselves? Why is it so hard to not be that self-critical and deprecating? And like, why is it so hard for us to give ourselves like a little grace and compassion the same way you would give to a friend?
Yeah. I think we're so used to talking to ourselves the way we talk to ourselves that we don't even realize we're doing it. You know,
we're not conscious about it.
Exactly. And a lot of it is, you know, what you learned when you were younger, or how you heard people talking to each other or to you, or what you witnessed, you know. And maybe as well, if you had undiagnosed ADHD and you were constantly under pressure trying to keep up and, you know, missing deadlines and being late and trying to keep up with your friends and your peers and just a lifetime of feeling like you're behind, you get to a point where you notice, actually, I talk to myself really terribly. So in the book, I talk about that in the self-compassion chapter, the 5 kind of steps to self-compassion. The first one is noticing the thought. And actually just saying it out loud and noticing it and being very aware of it. And then acceptance. So accepting it, right? It is what it is. Like, I missed the Pilates class. Like, can't change that now. It's done. What's done is done. And then the third one is having self-compassion. So it's, okay, well, I have ADHD and I was late. And that makes sense because I have ADHD. And actually today was really stressful and there was traffic. And I have ADHD, and sometimes it's hard, and sometimes I don't get it right. And the next one is forgiveness. So then forgiving yourself, like letting yourself off the hook. So you're able to say, I'm not going to hold this against myself. Like, I'm not going to let this mean something about myself. Like, I can forgive myself for this mistake that I made, or this mess up, or whatever it might be. And the next one, the final step, is forward motion. So moving on, what's the next best thing I can do? I can go for a walk. You know, it's not the same, but I can't change that I've missed the class now. So I can go for a walk. I can go into the local gym. I can go home and do a class while dinner's cooking. Yes. And then, you know, it is important to reflect and say, well, for me, there's certain studios that I just won't buy memberships for because I'm late way too much. You know, I get there right on the dot or a minute after and the class has started and they don't let you in. And then it's just this whole thing. And I'm like, what's the point? You know, like, what's the point? Just find something that has as little friction as possible. You know, if you need to travel 30 minutes to get to the studio and trains are always late or there's always traffic and it's a Friday evening and you end up missing the class 30-40% of the time and you're stressed the whole way there, what's the point?
What is the point?
You know, let's explore something else. Have you tried rock climbing before? You know, like, have you tried skipping out in your backyard?
Dancing, whatever
you know,
it is.
Like something, anything. Because what's important is that you're moving.
Yes.
What's important is that you're moving. It's not how you're moving, you know. Maybe, you really wanted Pilates today, but you missed it. So what now?
Yeah.
You know?
Completely. Let's talk about protein.
Okay.
For a second. And we won't get technical. One, because it's actually boring to get technical. And two, none of us are scientists here. But I do want to talk because I think that a lot of it is intuitive, right? Like, you were feeling better eating protein.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about protein. Why is it so important to consume? How was your body feeling before and after it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened with me was I was doing my 100 days of running, and then I was also going to the gym. So I was like going to the gym, maybe doing a few minutes on the treadmill running, and then doing my weight workout or whatever, kind of halfway through my challenge. And I was driving home in the car one day and I was like, I'm really enjoying this. Like, I'm feeling so much better. And I just was like, how could I take it up a notch? Like, what's the thing that I'm missing? Like, my body's not actually, I'm putting in all this effort and my mind's clear and I'm feeling better. My body hasn't really changed. That wasn't the goal to begin with, but actually I do want to feel more athletic, and I want to be able to, I want to look fitter, and I want to, feel better in my clothes, because everything was like tight and uncomfortable. Yes. And that feeling of certain clothes on my skin, I just don't like it. It has to,
Yeah, same.
So, protein, because I had worked, as I said, with thousands of women before, when I used to have the gym, and protein was a massive part in our like kind of nutritional guidance. And I knew I wasn't eating enough protein because I was feeling better, but I still hadn't really focused on my meals. And so I said, okay, protein, let's double the protein. It was just an easy way to remember. Let's double the protein, double what you're already eating, have protein at every meal, double what you're eating in the morning, at dinner. So instead of having one, chicken thigh or chicken breast, have two.
Yes.
Like less pasta, more chicken kind of thing. And again, really fast. Like, I was already feeling better, but this is just like doubled everything. I was feeling even better again. So protein is really important for a number of reasons. Like, it helps our bodies build and use neurotransmitters and hormones. It's important for muscle recovery. So if you're working out, I was running, I was sore all the time. Yeah. Everything was hurting, and I was like, oh my God, I need more protein to help me recover. So that's a big one. And as well, your skin, your hair,
everything looks better.
Everything.
Yeah.
Protein's important for everything. And for me, I just wasn't eating enough of it. And as well, which is actually really important, energy. So especially for people with ADHD, we tend to reach for like sugar and carbs and fast.
A dopamine hit, right?
Yeah. It's like instant gratification.
Delicious.
Yeah. A croissant for breakfast or cereal, But what happens is you have like a sugar spike, and then immediately you have this crash. And in the crash is where you then crave more sugar, and then you have a high in the low.
It's a cycle, right? It's a vicious cycle.
Yeah. And so then that affects your mood. So for me, it was about the mood.
Yes.
Because I don't mind eating, sugar and then having a crash and like just watching Netflix and chilling out. But when it affects my mood, and that's an everyday thing, I'm doing that every day, my mood's getting worse and my motivation's getting worse, and I'm just like a shell of myself, that's not okay. Like, I don't want to feel like that forever. So protein helps stabilize your blood sugar levels. So first thing in the morning, like your first meal of the day has to be high in protein, and then fats as well, and obviously carbs. And I talk about this in the book, like how to incorporate, different types of foods to help you feel your most vibrant self. But protein was the easiest place to start. So build your meal around the protein. So it's like, okay, I have eggs, or I have chicken, or I have turkey, or I have steak. What can I add to that? Because I used to think, okay, I have pasta, I have bread. What can I add to that? And then it's like a very carb heavy meal, and I would eat it and then I'd be slumped afterwards. Yeah. So it was just switching that for, okay, what protein do I have in my fridge, or what can I get? And then adding carbs and fats and stuff to that.
Yeah. What I like about the book is that you gave like quick and easy options of incorporating protein.
Yeah.
Like, actually, after reading the book, I started having my protein shake first thing in the morning because it was the easiest thing to do. That's the other thing, right? Like, I understand sometimes changing your eating habits can be hard and daunting. And it's like, oh, now all of a sudden I have to think about protein. Yeah. And when I first started, I would like force myself to eat eggs every morning, even though I hate eggs. Yeah. I hate eggs. Oh, really? I get the ick. Like, I can have it for a while, and then I won't have it for a month. But I was so like into having to eat protein that I was forcing myself, and then I just stopped. I failed. Like, it was just not working out. And then I was reading your book, and you were like, yeah, I just start my day with like this delicious protein shake. And I was like, wait a second, I do that in the afternoon. Like, why don't I just kickstart my day with a protein shake that I know I enjoy the flavor? It's quick and easy to make, and I already have my first protein hit in the morning. And the change is like night and day. Yeah. Like, you're right, I don't crash anymore, because I used to wake up, have coffee on an empty stomach. Bad. bad idea. And then have like a bagel with like butter, and then that would be my meal.
No.
And by 11 a.m., I was like sleeping and saying, why don't I have energy, or I'm brain foggy, or I can't like think properly.
Yeah.
And I was moody. I was
And then
really
more
moody.
coffee,
And then
and
more
then-
coffee.
yeah.
That's the thing. By 11 a.m., I would have my second cup, and then 2 p.m., I would need another cup. And I was like, how do people live this way? And then all of a sudden, by just adding protein, I have energy that coffee has never given me before.
Yeah.
And there's days that I don't need to have coffee anymore. And it's just like upping my protein intake.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's crazy.
I mentioned my protein shake so many times in the book because
I love it.
that was like my hyper focus during my transformation. Like,
Yeah.
because it was just easy, right?
is
Because
easy.
sometimes you don't have the meat in the fridge, or you don't want to cook, or you don't want eggs, but protein powder is just, when you get a good quality one,
Yeah.
right? It's just there. It's got good shelf life. It's not going to be out of date. If you have a few bags waiting, different flavors, you can make different flavors, you know. And for me, it's just put it into the shaker, loads of ice, banana, cinnamon, whatever, and it tastes
easy.
delicious. And I
Yeah.
actually love it. And so that was like my kind of baseline meal to reach for. So if I had forgot to eat, didn't feel like cooking a different type of meal, or was on the go, needed to bring something with me, that was just my easy. That was like, it's just so important to have something you can reach for, you know?
Yes.
For when your brain, when your brain's full, you can't think, you've got this mental load, you're just like, I have no capacity. The shake was like my savior because it was easy.
Yeah.
And it sounds so exaggerated, but it really helped me because I didn't have to think too much, or I didn't have to go to the grocery store, or it was just always there.
It's again, go back to, it's flexibility, right?
Yeah,
You're
flexibility.
going back to flexibility.
Yeah.
I've started developing that in other areas of my life. So now I have like my normal skincare routine, and then like my easy skincare routine for like the days that I come home and I'm very like late, and I just wash my face, add moisturizer, that's it. And you know what? I feel great because I did something instead of like not doing anything. Same with the protein shake. It's like, you don't want to cook an entire breakfast or like a big lunch. Create a protein shake.
Yeah.
It'll be easy, but you're fueling your body and
Yeah.
you're fueling your brain, more importantly.
Exactly. You're giving yourself what you need, because it's just as easy to reach for, you know, a bagel and just toast that and
Yeah.
wait for that. But like, you can also add things to the bagel, you know, turkey and different things that that help make it more of a full meal. But it's just finding that one thing that you can't really get sick of, and that you can add, as I said, like fats, healthy fats and carbs or veggies and fruits and stuff to help you, and making it easy. I say in the book, like, seize the easy, like wherever you can make life easier, make it easier for yourself. And some people might say, you know, well, it's easier for me to grab some, I don't know, think of something like macaroni and cheese, or something like a bag of potato chips, or but you feel terrible after it. Yeah. So it's kind of tweaking things so that you also feel good, you know? So I say as well, I love chocolate. I have chocolate every day. Like, you know, I love having my snacks in the evening after, you know, a day. I like sitting on the sofa watching Netflix or whatever we're watching with my snack bowl, because I'm not going to give that up. I love chocolate and ice cream, but it's adding things so that you can avoid the sugar crash and the problems that can bring, you know? So adding nuts to the chocolate, or, you know, some nuts and seeds into the bowl with, instead of eating a whole bag of potato chips, like what can you add to that to give you more fiber and protein, so that you're not going to mindlessly eat and feel terrible after it. And it's the same for breakfast and with protein.
Yeah. And, you know, a lot of it is knowing the effects of it, but I also think that a lot of it is like self-love in a way. It's knowing that, it's easy. You're right to go for that bag of chips. It takes a minute to open them. And let's say it'll take 4 minutes to create that protein shake, but like, that's a good thing for you. And I'm not telling you to stop eating the chips. Actually, if you want the chips after, go for it. Like, be my guest. But give yourself that little extra love, because you will be grateful for it the rest of the day when you're feeling better and not crashing out.
Absolutely. We went to the cinema yesterday, and I love the cinema. I love having popcorn and Maltesers and ice cream. I just love the whole experience in the dark. It's amazing. But we had gone, so me and my partner, we went to the gym first, and we didn't have much time in between, but I was like, no, we need to have food before we go to the cinema, because I'll just be sick for the rest of the evening if I don't eat. And so we did. We had, because he had made soup the day before, so we'd leftover soup, chicken soup, just throw in some rice really quickly, and then eat it, delicious, and then go and have your popcorn and your chocolate and whatever you want, and move on with your day.
Yeah, but don't make the popcorn your meal like I would do before.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I mean, like, sometimes it happens, right?
Yeah.
But as I said in the book, if that's your life every day,
yes, I think that's the biggest difference, right?
You're going to feel terrible. Yeah.
That's the biggest difference. It's like, I'm not saying that having a backup, like, even like, I don't know, if tomorrow I want McDonald's for dinner, I will have McDonald's for dinner. But if I'm having that every single night and it's becoming my life, that's when it's like a little bit problematic.
Yeah.
You're right.
And it's just as well, like being real with yourself. Like, this isn't great for my gut. And as well, being honest, I feel terrible after I eat this stuff. So for me, a big change came when I admitted like how crap certain foods made me feel. Do you know what I mean? Because I think sometimes, you know, we really enjoy eating certain foods, but we won't admit to ourselves that we feel terrible after it. And it creates this weird kind of conflict inside of us. And when you can admit how certain foods make you feel, you might crave them sometimes, but actually what I find now is that I crave it, and then I'm like, how can I make a better version of that so that I don't feel terrible after it, you know?
You're right. It's admitting it to yourself.
Because then you are your own guru. I say this in the book. Like, so you're not mindlessly moving through your life and mindlessly eating and just kind of doing everything the way you've always done it. It's just being more aware of how things make you feel. Things, food, people, thoughts, and having little conversations with yourself and asking yourself questions so that you can feel better. Yeah. And again, you know, it's not like all or nothing where you can never have McDonald's again or never have chocolate again. It's just, what can I add to make it
healthier or better for you?
Or just that I don't feel
healthier, better for you.
Yeah. And again, the flexibility of sometimes that won't work and you'll just need McDonald's 3 times a day.
Go for it.
But then you wake up the next day and you move on.
Yeah.
You know, and then
you don't beat yourself up for it.
Yeah. Because that's spiking stress hormones and you berating yourself just doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it's a habit. Talking badly to ourselves
is a habit.
It's a habit, and you know, you're not going to like remove all the negative thoughts forever, but the more you're aware of them and the more you kind of work with them and work with yourself, the more you can not get caught up in them, you know? Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
So the next thing I want to talk about, this is selfish because I'm struggling with it right now, and in the book you seem to have it down right now to a T, is sleep. Mm-hmm. So currently, if I try to go to bed, I can be really tired. I'm like, I'm exhausted. I'm going to fall asleep immediately. And I hit the pillow, and instead of falling asleep, my mind just starts thinking and it can't quiet down. Or I'll do a very bad habit of binge watching a TV show. Sometimes it's true crime, which is not great. And I need to watch it till the end to see what happens. And I'm falling asleep, but I'm really trying to stay awake.
Yeah.
And then I don't sleep. And then the next morning I wake up cranky, and then
it repeats.
Yeah, it repeats. And you focus on sleep on the book. And you talk a lot about things you did in order to make sleep better for you. And the also, of course, the importance of sleep on your brain, the importance of deep sleep as well.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about your sleeping habit routines.
Okay. I mean, there's so much to talk about here. I actually love sleep and I love my bed. But for me, sleep became really important last year. So I'd gone through the whole transformation. And then a few things happened in my life where I created a lot of chaos and I got really dysregulated and I was having hormone problems, PMDD. It was just a bit of a mess. And so I had to just like learn about my nervous system and rebalancing my hormones and just calming down, you know. And sleep was a big part of it because I was staying up to 2 a.m. watching, you know, Gilmore Girls and sleeping until 10. So I was getting like enough sleep, but my timing was way off. And then I was waking up at like 10, 10:30, getting outside, walking my dog maybe for like 11, 12. And then in winter in the UK, you're getting very little sunlight. So then it's nearly dark by the time I come home. And then I was so cranky and just falling into a depression with that. So I was like, this is terrible. I need to stop this. So getting to bed earlier started to become really important. And so I guess the first thing I'm going to ask you is like, do you have enough space between when you come home from work and going to bed?
So that has been one of my struggles because I do work US hours. So sometimes I feel like when I shut down my laptop, I'm still wired. Yeah. And it's 11 p.m. and I want to go to bed.
Yeah. You need to have like this kind of space in between where you're able to think all the thoughts and get that out of you before you get into bed. Yes. If you know what I mean. So like, do you watch TV in your living room or in bed?
In bed.
Yeah. So that's a big one because especially if you're watching crime and thrillers, because I love a good
Same.
thriller.
I can eat it up.
But last year I had to stop and I had to start watching Gilmore Girls,
yeah.
which is why I started watching Gilmore Girls and like, you know, Sex and the City and shows like that, because they were really easy on my nervous system and they weren't spiking my stress hormones. So that was the first step, changing what I was watching at that time of night. And then being able to transition from the living room into the bedroom. So, I mean, look, this changes all the time because interests change all the time. You're watching a TV show, you finish it, then there's nothing else good to watch. And so it really depends. But right now, what's really working for me is like, I love reading books. I love reading stories, like actual storybooks. I love reading. I'm reading one about witches at the minute, which sounds like, you know, really scary and a thriller, but I don't feel stressed at all.
Yeah.
I love it. And I can't wait to get into bed to read that book. So I need to have a book that I'm excited to read in the bedroom. And I can't read that book during the day. Like I have no interest in it. I have no interest in it. I don't want to go get it. But when it comes to evening time, I'm like, okay, the TV show is nearly over. We're watching Handmaid's Tale at the minute.
Yes.
Which is
A
stressful.
little
It is.
stressful.
But we're in the last season, so it's a bit more chill. But I'm like, oh, I want to keep watching it. But then also I can't wait to read my book in bed. So it's kind of like giving myself something, and that's going to be different for everyone. But last year I had a note under my TV that said phone off by 9:30 p.m. and another post-it note that said TV off by 10 p.m. And I really had to force myself at the time.
You have to.
I had to because of how I was feeling. And I would use my weighted blanket. So I have a weighted blanket, which is really calming. So I'd bring that out into the sofa as I was watching TV.
Oh, okay.
I drink chamomile tea. Do you drink chamomile tea?
I do love tea, yeah.
Chamomile will help. It's like a natural sedative.
I have a sleepy time tea that has chamomile and like lavender and like,
And clove as well.
Yeah.
Clove's really good. So I have that on the sofa with my weighted blanket, lights down low, really dim lights.
I read in your book that you don't turn on like the big bright light, but like the side lamps and stuff like that dimmed. Which
no
I think
ceiling
is smart.
lights.
Yeah, no ceiling
No
lights.
ceiling lights.
No harsh lights.
So that, and then by the time the show's over and it's kind of time to go to bed, I'm feeling sleepy. You know, it's getting myself a wee bit sleepy and cozy, getting that cozy feeling. Because if I go to bed stressed out thinking about work, I'm not going to sleep.
No.
I have to have that minute off. Like the world's asleep and I'm having this cozy time. Like my partner's still awake with me. But you know what I mean? It's like I'm not getting emails this time. I know you work US hours, so it's different.
You're not looking at your phone. No, because
there has to be a time that you stop.
I can't turn my phone off, but that's my problem. I don't.
You don't, yeah.
Until like I turn my phone off right before going to bed, which is a problem. I'm not winding down, and if not, I'm editing content because I do that on the side.
Yeah.
So it's I need to stop.
Yeah, and as well, it depends on where you are in your menstrual cycle. Because for me, when I'm in my luteal phase, so the 10 days before my period, if I'm doing that and I'm on my phone and I'm editing at nighttime and all, I actually end up getting having way more meltdowns and I get really dysregulated and I burn out a lot. But I'm in a good place in my cycle now. I can do podcasts. I put out like 3 or 4 TikTok videos yesterday, which never happens for me. That'll happen like 3 days in the month.
Yeah.
And I don't expect myself to be able to do it all month because it doesn't happen. But the point is like knowing your limits and having and being nice to yourself because you feel better when you get sleep, right?
Definitely.
I have an app on my phone called Opal. Do you use it?
No.
Oh my God. Everybody needs to use Opal. Okay. I'm not getting paid by Opal.
not sponsored.
It's not sponsored. I discovered this only a few months ago, but you can set it up in different ways where it blocks you out of social media. So you know on the iPhone,
you can block yourself.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work because I unblock it.
You unblock it. But Opal, there's a difficulty setting where it doesn't let you unblock it.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. So I used to have it set up that at 9 p.m. every night that would kick in and it wouldn't unlock until 11 a.m. the next day. So I wake up in the morning. I can still access my phone, my WhatsApp. You know, people like my family, my friends can get me. You know, I'm not locked out of everything.
Yes.
But the apps that are really distracting, I am until 11 a.m. So I get my nighttime routine and my morning routine without being distracted with the scroll. Yes. But as well, I just discovered this recently. There's another setting on the app where you can. So I have it set up that if I'm on social media for 20 minutes, I get locked out for 20 minutes.
Incredible.
So if I'm in a hole, a scroll hole, it's going to take me out of, and I'm never doing anything that's important enough that
you need to
you know what I mean?
On social media. Yeah.
So that's been really helpful. I don't take my phone into the bedroom. Do you take your phone to bed?
Yeah.
No, I don't. So I stopped in that last year. I had a second, like an old iPhone.
Yeah.
And that's in the bedroom, and I can use that. The only apps that are on that are like my meditation apps or
I have
hypnotherapy.
that. I can do that. Yeah.
And for an alarm, if you like your phone alarm. So actually that second phone that I have in my bedroom has been dead for such a long time. I don't really use it. I actually use Alexa to wake me up if I need it. So keep your phone out of the room, because just it being there, your nervous system knows it's there.
Yeah, it does.
You know, it's like that.
Yeah.
It's just there. It's keeping you on, you know, subconsciously, like even when it's on airplane mode, it's still there.
Yes.
And it's so easy that when you have a bad morning and you wake up, it's just too easy to grab it and scroll. Why make it easier for yourself by just not having it there at all?
Definitely.
That took a long time for me to
achieve,
to like stick with that. And now I don't even think about it. My phone's just in the kitchen.
That's incredible.
But it took a long time to get to that point. So that's another tip. I mean, oh my God, I've got so many. Am I telling you too many things?
No, I love it. I love it. Because in a way, again, all habit building. It's all about creating healthy habits. It's about making things either easy or difficult for yourself, knowing yourself, understanding yourself. But you also touch on hypnosis.
Yes. I love hypnosis. That really helped me last year when I was trying to get this bedtime routine nailed. So I would get into bed and it would just help me kind of calm my mind. So there's loads of different types of hypnosis you can do, right? Hypnotherapy, hypnosis, loads of different apps. And there's loads of sleeping ones. So like I would put on like a 15-minute sleep hypnosis and it would just guide you through, it would bring your body to a state of relaxation so that you can fall asleep. And there's loads of ones as well that gives you subconscious suggestions. Like it suggests to your subconscious mind, like you can kind of program your mind in any way you want. You know, you can do like healthy habit building, you know, so that it's telling you that you're healthy.
Yes.
Does that make sense? Or it could be like wealth building, or it could be anything. So hypnosis, I'm not using that as much recently because now when I go to bed, I conk out. I get my book, I read however much I can read, and then I'm out like a light. I have no problem sleeping at the minute.
And I use that as an inspiration that it'll happen to me.
But hypnosis really helped me kind of get to that point. You want to make your bed a nice place to be.
Yes.
Like when you get into bed, you're cozy, the bed sheets as well, like getting cool, certain fabrics.
That, I actually, what you said about opening the door.
Yes.
Or like a window for an hour before bed and then closing it out. I was like, yes, because I will say that in the UK, that has been the hardest thing for me because there's no AC here.
Yeah.
Like I forced my partner to get AC because I was driving him insane.
Yeah.
But in America, we have AC everywhere.
Yeah.
So my room was very cold and I would fall asleep easier. Whereas here, it's not as cold. So opening the door before, or in the summer, we turn on the AC for an hour. He doesn't like to sleep with it. That's fine. I'll turn it on for an hour, but it'll cool down the room.
Yeah. The air needs to be like cool. It helps you fall asleep
Yes,
faster.
exactly.
So that, and you can have, like, you can be warm inside the bed, but it's the air around you.
Around you has to be cold.
Yeah, it has to be cold. And the sheets that you use as well, I can't remember now.
Breathable.
There's certain types of cotton that are cooler than other types of cotton, which stay cool. And your pillowcase as well. So things like that. But as well, when you're in bed, if I find myself lying there and I'm not falling asleep and nothing's working and I'm because I have to be up at a certain time, and then that spikes the stress hormones even more. One thing I talk about in the book is
the exercise of like noticing things.
That
I did it last night.
And did you? Yeah,
it did help.
Yeah. Did it help? It's so good.
It is really good.
And as well, I was going to say the 25 good things.
Oh yes,
that
25
exercise.
Things you're like grateful for.
So, because we've all heard about gratitude practices and writing down what you're grateful for, but I just find it quite clinical because you're like, I am so grateful for my health. I am so grateful for my partner. You know, you're just repeating things, but you're not getting the feeling of it. So in bed, I close my eyes and I go through the full day. So even on a bad day, 25 good things that happened today. And the reason why this works so well is because 25 seems like a lot of things.
Yes.
It's not just 3 things. You're repeating the same thing 3 things every day.
Again. Yeah.
So you're thinking, okay, and you had a bad day, but you close your eyes, 25 good things. Okay, well, I woke up and then, you know, the person in the coffee shop wasn't busy.
Yeah.
Or I got my favorite seat. Or, you know, it started raining just after I got into work. Yeah. Or
the train was on time and there was an empty seat for me.
Anything. Like the sky was blue. My coffee was extra hot. Like there's some days where you're really like struggling to find things, but actually a lot of the time I'll fall asleep before I hit the 25, you know, because you'll get to a point where you think, oh, actually, that was nice. Number 17.
You get that like cozy
yeah,
feeling
they held it
again.
open. Actually, that was quite nice today. You know, and you start feeling that feeling of
gratitude,
feeling good. And then that relaxes your nervous system. And then your mind is focused on this one exercise that you're doing. So you're trying to get to number 25, that your body's more present, you're more present, and your body's able to drift off to sleep. And you're not needing a journal or an app, or it's just you with your eyes closed. So I think that's really important, having things.
That's true, because you need to like turn off the app or the phone after.
Yeah, it's just having things that you can close your eyes and just do them in your imagination. That's like, your imagination is so powerful, and we often use it for like really bad worst case scenarios. So it's like using your mind, using your senses in that way for good to help you feel calm.
Yeah. I can talk with you for hours. I feel like we have, but more than anything, I really want to encourage everyone to buy the book. I told you this when I read it first. I wish someone gave this to me as a gift the day I was diagnosed. I feel like it would have made my life so much easier, and I know it will for so many people. If you have someone that you know has ADHD, or if you have ADHD, I really encourage you to have the copy of the book. It's incredible. Where can they find the book? Everywhere you buy books. It's currently out in the US, Canada, Australia, everywhere. It's not out in the UK until May 8th. Okay, May 8th.
But you can pre-order it.
Okay, amazing. And there's also the audiobook version, which I love audiobooks. It's very easy for me that way. And I've been listening to it on Spotify. It's incredible. It's on Audible. So really go ahead and reach for it. And I'm going to ask you one last question to close this out. What would you tell your younger self if you had the opportunity, like pre-diagnosed younger self?
Oh, these questions are always emotional.
I know.
Actually, when I was recording the audiobook, I started crying in the younger self section. I was like, oh my God, I couldn't get it out. I would tell her that she's going to be okay. Like, she's going to be more than okay, and that she can't yet see what's coming. Like, she can't see the good that's coming, and it's not going to be in the way that she's expecting it. And to let go of so much control, because things are going to work out better than she could have planned it at that point in time. Because life has a strange way of taking you in all these different directions, and for things to work out. So let go of the control and just trust you're going to be okay. That's what I tell her.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for this conversation, and thank you for your book.
Thank you so much for having me.
Hopefully I'll have you again soon.
Yes, we need to do it again. Yeah.
Bye. Thank you, guys.